When I play these Platinum challenges, the enemy Pokemon that I dislike the most is the Bronzor and Bronzong-line. Today, I'm going to use them in a solo challenge and hopefully make my opponents suffer, but since this is a defensive Pokemon, I don't think it's going to do that well. These are the rules for the solo challenge. I've also left them in the description. For base stats, Bronzor has 57 HP, 24 attack and special attack, 86 defense and special defense, and 23 speed. I am going to be moving second in almost all instances. I've had the rival pick Chimchar today because I'm a primary steel type, and I think it makes sense for him to have a fire type Pokemon. After all, Bronzor has either Levitate or Heat Proof, and I'm going with Levitate because it's much better than Heat Proof. The only fire type specialist is Flint, and he's really not that good. That said, I am also a psychic type, so eventually I will be super effective against the Monferno and Infernape, but I don't think the Torterra would perform better. Maybe the Empoleon would, since water moves are neutral against steel types. Anyway, I decided to go with the Infernape line. I think it makes most sense in terms of flavor. Bronzor has a standard medium fast growth rate. For these solo challenges, which are first playthroughs in Platinum, I am only using Hardy Natures. Base Friendship 70, so I could use Return early-ish into the playthrough. It's still going to be less powerful than Tackle, at least at this moment. And for most targets, I'm going to be using Confusion. Luckily, unlike other games, there are not a lot of dark types in the early game of Pokemon Platinum, so this move is quite useful. Bronzor's level up moveset is okay. There are some standout moves here. Number 1, Hypnosis at level 7. I love this. At level 12, Imprison. It's not really going to be useful. It's a cool move, but I don't think that its effect is ever really going to be important for a solo run. Let me know if you can think of an interesting example as to when it would be really clutch. Beyond that, it gets Confuse Ray, Extrasensory, Iron Defense, Safeguard, Gyro Ball, Future Sight, Feint Attack, Payback, and Heal Block. Through TM and HM, it gets some decent coverage. Earthquake, Shadow Ball, Rock Tomb, Charge Beam, Rock Slide, and Grass Knot. It also gets the same type of attack bonus moves, Psychic and Flash Cannon. I'm going to talk about both of these later on. In Jubilife City before the second rival battle, I pick up the Quick Claw. This is a really useful item for a slow defensive Pokemon, and for now, I'm just going to set it and forget it. The rival still doesn't have any fire type moves, so here he's not an issue. Fighting the trainers in the next section of the game gets Bronzor to level 12, and it learns Imprison. I don't think I need to level up much more since I'm a steel type. I probably will be able to fight Rourke after defeating the 2 trainers inside of his gym. This gets Bronzor to level 13, and now it's time for the first gym battle. I think the strategy here is pretty clear. The Cranidos knows Pursuit, which will do neutral damage to Bronzor, where Headbutt will be resisted. Both the Geodude and the Onix are going to be doing pathetic damage with Rock Throw, so I think I can just knock them out with Confusion, and then against the more risky Cranidos, I'm going to put it to sleep with Hypnosis. I decided this after hitting it once with Confusion, which did roughly 1/4, and Pursuit was doing a little bit more than I was comfortable with. Here's the thing though, Hypnosis has 60% accuracy. By the way, in Diamond and Pearl only, it was buffed to 70%, but then reverted back for this game, which is pretty frustrating. Hypnosis is required here because Rourke has a potion to heal the Cranidos, and then it would do enough damage with Pursuit to eventually knock me out. Unfortunately, I don't get lucky enough with the status condition, and as a result, I take my first reset. I don't think there's any reason to keep training in this section of the game. I'll just keep rolling the dice, and eventually the Cranidos will sleep enough to get knocked out. It happens right away in the next battle, and as a result, I move on to the Onix. Before that though, I teach Confuse Ray in the place of Imprison, and then I finish off Rourke's final Pokemon. On my way north through the Ravaged Path, I pick up the TM for Rock Tomb, but I'm not going to teach this right away. I wanted to hold on to my current moveset. After all, Confusion is super effective against Mars's Zubat, and it's going to be doing more damage than Rock Tomb would. But it still can't one-shot, which is unfortunate. I take a little bit of damage as a result, but the bigger problem in this battle is the Purugly. Fake out turn 1, I put it to sleep, but it's able to wake up and start attacking with Feint Attack, which is doing a decent amount of damage. Also, I just keep missing Hypnosis. Unfortunately for me, I do get one more off, but it's not quite enough because Purugly wakes up and Bronzor goes down. I tried this fight one more time, but it went the same way that it did previously. Unlike Rourke, I do think that it makes sense to train here since I'm level 17. If I just fight some trainers that I skipped as well as some wild Pokemon, then I can level up to 19 and learn Extrasensory in the place of Confusion, which greatly improves improves my chances in this battle. Number 1, I can one-shot the Zubat at the beginning of the battle, and then I have significantly better damage ranges against the Purugly. Still, it takes 5 hits to knock out because of its berry, and I take a lot of damage from feint attack. Even with my upgraded set, this is still a close battle. Bronzor pulls through with 5 hit points. Continuing north, I dodge trainers. Now, I'm gonna reflect on this choice in just a second. I didn't think I needed to fight anyone here because Extrasensory's effective power is 120. Plus, it's super effective against Gardenia's ace. I wasn't expecting to have problems against her. In the forest, there's the person with Pachirisu. It takes me forever to knock out her Pokemon. Luckily, I don't get paralyzed in the process. Inside the next gym, I equip the Cherry Berry. It's really useful here to avoid paralysis. And then I go up against the second gym leader at level 22. Turtwig is first. It likes to go for Reflect, but this doesn't matter since I'm attacking with special moves. I two-shot and move on to the Cherrim. This is where the battle gets really sticky. She uses Leech Seed, and every turn it is draining a significant amount of my health, healing the Cherrim in the process, and Extrasensory can't do that much damage. There's some back and forth here. The Cherrim does chip damage using Grass Knot, and eventually Bronzor succumbs to Leech Seed. I tried again, and I can't even use Hypnosis to get away from Leech Seed since Cherrim is significantly faster than Bronzor, so I take a second loss because of the status condition. I can't even make it to the Rosa raid. I guess skipping trainers on my way to Eterna Forest was not a good choice. I should have battled them and leveled up 1 or 2 more times. There's some fishermen on the little bridge before the city, so I go back, fight them, get to level 23 over a damage rounding threshold, and then try Gardenia again. This still isn't working. Obviously, I can't make up for my speed deficit. The Cherrim can go for Leech Seed on turn 1. Unfortunately, even if I put it to sleep, I'm just not doing enough damage to knock it out quickly enough. Unless I score a critical hit. Then it goes down and Roserade comes in. But I'm still taking damage from Leech Seed, plus it goes for Grass Knot doing devastating damage, and then my Extrasensory does half. After a Citrus Berry and the Leech Seed recovery, the Roserade is almost full health by the time the next turn rolls over, but then it just moves first with Magical Leaf and Bronzor faints again. When I looked at Bronzor's move pool, I didn't think this would happen because Extrasensory seems like a good solution here, but it's just not doing enough damage because again, we're a really defensive Pokemon. My special attack is just too low. I train up to 25 over the next damage rounding threshold and attempt again, but it is still not working. I am able to defeat the Cherrim and move on to the Roserade, which means I could potentially crit it, avoiding the Citrus Berry, and I think that then I would one-shot. So there is a lucky way to win this battle. Because of that, I think it makes sense to deposit all of my HM users and then do Blackout training here. Luckily, it doesn't take very long to navigate the gym on each subsequent attempt. I can gain experience from both the Turtwig and the Cherrim, but then the Roserade's going to knock me out unless I get very lucky. I block out 2 times, then level up to 26, learn Iron Defense in the place of Confuse Ray, and continue my training, blacking out for a 3rd time. But something here has changed. I'm not sure if I was just getting unlucky previously, or if leveling up has forced the Cherrim to start going for Grass Knot instead of Leech Seed. I think it might be the fact that my special defense is higher, and then somehow the Cherrim is thinking that Grass Knot is a better move to use when compared with Leech Seed, although I don't know how that makes sense since the passive damage would be better since it's a percentage of my health. If you know what's going on with the Generation 4 AI here, let me know, because this is the 2nd battle in a row that the Cherrim just spams Grass Knot instead of using Leech Seed. Because of that, I knock it out, and I have green health for the Roserade. It goes for turn 1 Stun Spore, but Extrasensory is doing a lot of damage. I thought that after the Citrus Berry, I would still have enough damage to knock it out, but Roserade survives on red. Because her ace is at low health, Gardenia uses a Super Potion, saving it. But then, it no longer has a Citrus Berry, so I only need 2 more Extrasensories. But Paralysis messes the first one up. Grass Knot takes me to orange health, Extrasensory hits, bringing the Roserade under half, then she uses 1 more Grass Knot. Please, Paralysis, don't mess this up. Luckily it doesn't, and I earn myself the 2nd badge. With it, I can use Cut outside of battle and go to the old chateau, picking up the Dread Plate to increase the damage of Dark-type moves. I don't think this is going to be useful, but I was playing safely, just grabbing the item in case I end up using Feint Attack or Payback later on. The more important item in this location is the TM for Substitute, which is obviously going to be useful against Fantina, but it might end up having some utility right away against Commander Jupiter. The problem here is the Skuntank because it's a dark type. I can't attack with extra sensory, leaving me only with tackle. I didn't set up against the Zubat with iron defense, which ends up being a mistake because then her ace does so much damage with Night Slash. And look at how much tackle is doing. That is truly pathetic. If I was playing this run as my first ever Platinum playthrough and I had never seen a Skuntank before, I might genuinely think that it's a rock or steel type with how little that did. I just need a better damage dealing move, and right now the best option is going to be Return, which has an effective power of 68. I set up iron defense on the Zubat to +6, and then against the Skuntank it's going to be doing less damage unless it gets a critical hit with Night Slash, which is more likely. So because of that, I'm going to put it to sleep with Hypnosis. Sadly for me, it ends up waking up, and then I miss Hypnosis after Hypnosis after Hypnosis. Due to that, I take one more loss. But in the next battle, everything comes together for me. Iron defense followed by Hypnosis with Return for more damage. Still, I'm doing very little to the Skuntank, and it takes forever to knock out. Also, by the time Hypnosis wore off, I decided not to reestablish it, instead just spamming Return, hoping that the Skuntank wasn't going to crit. And I got lucky here. It's really unfortunate that I couldn't get the bike before fighting Commander Jupiter, because then I could go into Wayward Cave and pick up the TM for Earthquake and backtrack to her with a super effective move. Also, right now I don't think Earthquake is going to be a good move to teach to Bronzor, since all of Fantina's Pokemon have Levitate. Now, as a defensive Pokemon, some held items are superior to others. I've talked about how the Quick Claw is really good, but another great held item is the Shell Bell, which I can pick up here in Hearthome City. Following that, in Amity Square, I can pick up the Amulet Coin. This item will help me earn more money to buy Game Corner coins in Veilstone City. The Psychic TM costs 8,000 coins, or 160,000 Pokédollars, which is not going to be possible to obtain when I first arrive in the city. I also grabbed the Spooky Plate here, but I didn't end up using it during this playthrough, although I will be making use of Shadow Ball later on. Unfortunately though, it's not available now, so I have to face Fantina with my current set, with one addition, obviously Substitute, and I choose to teach it over Hypnosis. I might love using sleep moves, but after Generation 1, they're just not nearly as good. Okay, time for the Ghost type specialist. Fantina leads with Duskull. First turn, Substitute. I am faster than this Pokemon because it's extremely slow. Then using Extra Sensory, I have to knock it out over 3 turns, and Fantina chooses to use one of her Super Potions here, which is great because she's not using it on the Mismagius, which I'm much more scared of. Haunter's next. I do enough damage to take it to low health, and she uses another Super Potion here, which is perfect. But my Substitute is broken, and the Haunter does chip damage with Shadow Claw before I knock it out, leaving me with 1/3 damage before Mismagius. Turn 1 it goes for Confuse Ray, and Bronzor's Extra Sensory does roughly 1/6. Shadow Ball is dealing neutral damage to me, and because of that I don't think there's a hope of winning here. I tried one more time thinking that maybe I could be a little bit more aggressive setting up Substitute again during the middle stages of the fight, but the problem is instead of Haunter coming out second, this time Mismagius comes out second, and I'm not going to be able to reestablish Substitute against its constant use of Shadow Ball. I'm used to Substitute completely trivializing this battle, but today I'm gonna have to go do extra training. I get level 30, the next damage rounding threshold, and then I come back to try again. Up to this point in the playthrough, there are 3 rare candies available. So I could boost Bronzor from level 30 to 33, or it will evolve into its final form, Bronzong, which is definitely gonna give me the advantage I need to beat Fantina. But I wanted to try one more time at level 30 to save my rare candies for later on. Turns out I shouldn't have won this fight, however, at the critical moment, Extra Sensory gets a critical hit, so she's unable to use a Super Potion on the Mismagius, and because of that I get to the Haunter. I have super effective damage, and even though I get put to sleep by Hypnosis, Bronzor is able to wake up, hit with Extra Sensory, and that's all it needs. The following rival battle can sometimes be extremely tricky, but today the Staravia does not go for Endeavor, instead just attacking with Wing Attack, which makes very little sense. Then he sends in Monferno. I'm super effective with Extra Sensory, and while I can't knock it out in a single hit, it just chooses Leer, lowering my physical defense. Luckily, the following 2 Pokemon are just never really that scary. maybe if I play a Pokemon that takes 4 times damage from one of their moves. Alright, I'm playing a slow Pokemon that's defensive, so I think picking up some healing items makes sense during a playthrough like this. Moo Moo Milk is an excellent option for this, which I can grab from the little house before heading onto Route 215. Ruin Maniac Calvin is so annoying with my current moves. I have Extra Sensory and Return to knock out a Bronzor as well as a Shieldon. It is a slow and painful battle, but I am not going to be able to lose here because of my typing. Before Ace Trainer Dennis, I am almost level 33, and I could have used a rare candy here to be fully evolved before taking him on, but I really wanted to avoid that if possible. Unfortunately for me, he is able to knock out Bronzor because the Drifblim is such a nuisance with Ominous Wind. It also takes very little damage from Extra Sensory. I decided to play slower with Substitute, and even this isn't the way I win. I just end up critting the Drifblim. This takes Bronzor to level 33, where it evolves into Bronzong. For base stats, it has 67 HP, 89 attack, and 116 defense and special defense. This is where things get bad. It has 33 speed, which is absolutely abysmal. The bad news just continues because its special attack is 79, 10 points lower than its physical attack, which is a departure from Bronzor's evenly distributed attacking stats. And I find this quite frustrating because Bronzong is going to be using mostly special attacks in the next section of the game, because Maylene, a fighting type specialist, is coming up next. Remember, I can't earn enough money at this point in a run to get the Psychic TM from the game corner, so I'm going to have to defeat her using Extra Sensory. Meditite first. Fake Out's annoying. I thought about setting up Substitute, but in the end I just went for Extra Sensory. It's able to 2-shot her lead, and I take some damage from Drain Punch in the process. But I have the Shell Bell for this battle, so I'm gaining back a little bit of health on every turn. Extra Sensory does just under half to the Lucario. It goes for Drain Punch, which is doing a significant amount of damage to Bronzong. I got a little bit worried here, but luckily for me, she doesn't use a healing item on her ace, and I knock it out. Moving on to the Machoke. With orange health remaining, I was concerned of the Machoke getting a critical hit with Cross Chop. Luckily, it's quite slow, and Bronzong is actually faster, and Extra Sensory does enough to knock it out in one hit. The journey to Pastoria City is largely uneventful for Bronzong. I do some additional training here, but not significant amounts. Surrounding Pastoria City, there are 2 rare candies, which I collect now. I think I'm going to use them before Crasher wakes, since I'll be taking neutral damage from his Pokemon. And I'm only going to be outspeeding the Quagsire, so I'm going to need the little boost in levels. Plus, this is typically the best place in most Pokemon Platinum playthroughs to use the candies. This means I'm going to be a slightly lower level going into the battle against the rival. This exposes me to a significant threat. Look at the Staravia. It is just barely able to survive one hit from Extra Sensory, and this time it does go for Endeavor, draining Bronzong's health from full down to 2 hit points. I am able to knock it out, but nothing matters when the Monferno is both faster and has Mach Punch. To block Endeavor, I can go for Substitute. Plus, I can set up Iron Defense behind it while the Staravia goes for Double Team. I don't care if it attacks with Wing Attack, I just need to block damage from Endeavor, which I do end up doing. However, then because of Double Team, I miss my Extra Sensory, allowing the Staravia to hit Endeavor on the next turn, and that's a second loss. So I need to be able to establish Substitute, set up Iron Defense, and then get lucky with Extra Sensory, knocking out the Staravia before it depletes my health with a second Endeavor. I do not pull it off in the next fight, but in the 4th battle, everything lines up. I make it to the Monferno with green health. Extra Sensory is super effective, and I one-shot. I'm not going to talk about the other 2 Pokemon, other than the fact that defeating them levels me up, and I can learn Gyro Ball, which I do end up teaching in the place of Iron Defense. I think having access to a damage-dealing Steel-type move is going to be better. Prior to Crasher Wake, I prepare by using 7 rare candies to get Bronzong to level 47. Gyarados is first. It has Intimidate, so I'm not going to be using physical moves, but I was planning on just spamming Extra Sensory anyway. I take decent damage from Waterfall in the process, going to around half health, and then he sends in Floatzel. It's using Crunch, but my Extra Sensory does massive damage. I was not expecting this. I never realized how low Floatzel's special defense is. It can't knock me out with Crunch, so I finish it on the next turn, and then Quagsire is all that's left. It also has decently low special defense, so I'm able to 2-shot with Extra Sensory Sensory, and instead of trying to knock me out, it just goes for Yawn, but Crusher Wake does have a potion. So he heals, Bronzong falls asleep, and now I'm at the mercy of both Water Pulse and the status condition. Unfortunately, while I sleep, Water Pulse gets a critical hit, but I have enough health to survive at least 2 more. Bronzong was seriously cutting things close here. It wakes up on the last possible turn, moves with Extra Sensory, and Quagsire goes down. I wasn't expecting the Cyrus battle in Celestic Town to be a problem. I have Gyro Ball, which is decent against the Sneasel, and then I can use Extra Sensory on the Golbat, and finally return on the Murkrow. The issue here ends up being the fact that the Golbat confuses me with Supersonic after my substitute fades. I decided I didn't need another one, and even if I had, I wouldn't have moved first. I take damage then from Bite, get flinched, hit myself in confusion, eventually snap out and knock out the Golbat, but the problem is that the Murkrow knows Nightshade, which is great against a wall like Bronzong, and with 2 hits, I faint, taking an unexpected reset. Luckily for Bronzong, when the Murkrow evolves, it's gonna get slower, which will be an advantage for me against Cyrus the second time around. Also, in the next battle, the Golbat just faints right away to a super effective Extra Sensory. It is unable to break my substitute, and because of that, the entire battle is easy. The rival battle in Canalave City, I think, is going to be easier in general than the previous one, because this is the first time his lead, Staraptor, no longer has Endeavor. It's just attacking with either Takedown or Aerial Ace, which is not good. I level up, say no to Feint Attack. I don't think a Dark-type move is going to be useful, so the Dread Plate was wasted time earlier on. Infernape follows, but Extra Sensory does enough damage to one-shot, and that's it for relevant members on his team here. I guess Heracross could hit with a Fighting-type move for neutral damage, but no, it just goes down to a single hit. That's it. Now, time for the gym. All of the difficult trainers come before Byron. He is usually the easiest person in here. Also, I realized that the overlay keeps displaying NAN for the power on Gyro Ball in certain states. For all of you who aren't programmers, just like me, this means not a number, so something is going wrong in my calculation for the move. I'm gonna fix it later on, but sorry about that. I know it's a bit of a visual eyesore, especially when I'm teaching Earthquake in the place of Return. I assume that this move is gonna make the Steel-type gym pretty simple. Also, Bronzong can now make use of its higher physical attack. Black Belt Ricky's Steelix isn't a problem. Ace Trainer Caesar's Scissor goes down over 3 hits, doing very little damage in the process. And then the Bronzor at the end of all of this. They end up being just as annoying as always. And here I'm going to reflect on what I said at the beginning of the video. Am I indeed causing annoyances for my enemies? No, I don't think so. I have 19 faults. That's pretty bad for this section of the game. Bronzong is definitely not satisfying to play, and this is typically what happens with defensive Pokemon. For example, in Pokemon Yellow, Executor is a nightmare to battle, but then when you use Executor for a solo challenge, it is one of the worst fully evolved Pokemon in the game. Unlike Executor though, I don't think Bronzong is going to be quite that bad in Pokemon Platinum. At least Byron is not going to put up a fight. Earthquake one-shots Magneton, Earthquake two-shots Steelix, and then Bastiodon goes down to a single hit. Winning this gives me access to the Flash Cannon TM. It's a special move, and right now I think holding onto Gyro Ball makes more sense. Plus, I have a moveset plan for the end of the game, and Flash Cannon doesn't fit into it. By the way, I want to say a quick thank you to Axu Karisora, Perky Penguin, and Elite 4 Alex for sharing their thoughts on Bronzong over on the Solo Running Discord. I always leave a link in the description in case you want to join off of any one of my videos. Commander Saturn's next, and he's not a threat since Toxicroak is going to go down quickly to Earthquake. The only problem here is the Bronzor, which once again takes forever to knock out. Next, I fly back to Eterna City. It's time to pick up what might be the most important item in the run for Bronzong. Inside of Mount Coronet, I can smash this rock, then use Strength to push this boulder out of the way. By the way, I have to have defeated Byron in order to use this HM outside of battle, so that's why I have to come here to get this item now. And the item is the Rock Polish TM. With it, I'm going to be able to compensate for Bronzong's extremely low speed. Commander Mars, easy. Dalton, easy because I have Earthquake and it doesn't make contact, which is really satisfying. Then I head into Snowpoint City and take on Candace. I was expecting this to be okay. Substitute, Gyro Ball, that knocks out the Sneasel. Oh, it doesn't, just barely. Okay, well, it's going to attack. She uses a Hyper Potion, I go for Earthquake. Its Feint Attack breaks my defense, and then a Bomb of Snow comes in. Not a great start to the fight. Extra Sensory does slightly less than half. By the way, I cannot get the Psychic TM from the overworld until I beat Candace, because you need to use Rock Climb in order to obtain it. Looking back on this playthrough, I think I could have more aggressively used the Amulet Coin over over the last section of the game, especially during Byron's gym. I'm not sure if that would have given me enough money to get Psychic by this fight, but if I could have had it, it definitely would be easier here, although the Sneasel would still be a problem. But I could do more damage to her other Pokemon. The issue is that the Frostlass has Snow Cloak, and the Abomasnow came in first, setting up Snow Warning. Because of this, I just keep missing, and eventually the Frostlass gets me. This fight really isn't that difficult. I can roll enough damage to one-shot the Sneasel, I just got unlucky last time. With my substitute still intact for the Abomasnow, this fight's so much easier. Also, I'm able to roll enough damage to two-shot it, so last time I just had really bad luck. Frostlass comes in, I still have my defense. It might get broken here, but 2 Gyro Balls hit in a row and her ace goes down. Piloswine's a bad Pokemon, so that's it for the 7th gym. Now, with Rock Climb outside of battle, I can scale this cliff by Celestic Town and pick up the Psychic TM. But I'm not going to teach it right away, which is another reason why buying one from the Game Corner earlier on probably would be the best mid-game play. But Psychic at this point in the run wouldn't be that helpful, since I'm about to go up against a bunch of Dark types, and Cyrus's team specifically is weak to Rock type moves, so I teach Rock Tomb in the place of Gyro Ball. As soon as this fight started, I realized that I think I made a mistake. Gyro Ball would be better against the Sneasel. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. I have Rock Tomb now for the Haunch Crow, which I guess is good. The Sneasel doesn't really cause problems other than breaking my substitute, and then I take it down. This is where I make a mistake. Instead of using Extrasensory on the Crobat, I go for Rock Tomb, which has an effective power of 100 compared to Extrasensory's 240. Because of this, I take a decent amount of damage, and I also risk missing. Luckily, I don't. Haunch Crow comes in after that, and it's still outspeeding Bronzong. Also, it doesn't even matter because I'm not able to two-shot with Rock Tomb. The Haunch Crow has a Citrus Berry, and then it uses Nightshade, so I lose. There's a simple solution here, which is obviously using Extrasensory on the Crobat, but instead I use 7 rare candies, boosting Bronzong to level 63 before trying again. Now I'm faster than the Haunch Crow, and this battle's easy, even though I don't use Extrasensory on the Crobat for a second time. Let's skip by the Saturn battle because it's basically irrelevant. Inside of Mount Coronet, I grab the Rock Slide TM. It's going to be useful in just one moment. At the top of the mountain, I have a multi-battle alongside Barry. I really think I should have targeted down his Munchlax so that he would send in Infernape to manage their Bronzor more quickly. Instead, I just chip away slowly with Extrasensory. It takes forever. Their Bronzor chip away at his Munchlax and eventually get the job done anyway, but it would have been more helpful to have a fire type in the battle sooner. If only Earthquake worked here to knock out both of the Bronzor, but no, they have Levitate. All of the Bronzor in Generation 4 have Levitate. Let me know if you know of one that has Heatproof. I can't think of one. There are Heatproof Bronzong in Pokemon Heart Gold though. Every time I see one of them, I get a little bit happier. In the Distortion world, I have to face Cyrus. To prepare for this battle, I'm going to teach Bronzong 2 moves. Rock Polish in the place of Substitute, and Rock Slide in the place of Rock Tomb. His first Pokemon is Houndoom, which is problematic since it can go for Will-O-Wisp, cutting my physical damage in half. But it can also use Flamethrower, and I think because it sees that this move is super effective, it's more likely to choose it. I'm not sure if that's the case, but it does select Flamethrower here. I went for one turn of Rock Polish because then I'm faster than every single one of Cyrus's Pokemon. Earthquake takes care of Houndoom, Rock Slide, Haunch Crow, Weavile gets a Fake Out in, which is irrelevant, and then Rock Slide takes it out. Gyarados intimidates me, but I don't really care at this point in the battle, plus I get a critical hit with Extrasensory. That leaves only the Crobat, so can I redeem myself for the previous battle? Am I going to choose Rock Slide here, or will I select Extrasensory? I figured it out, I choose the Psychic move and defeat Cyrus. Without respect, or without an intro, I am going right into the Volkner fight. I have Earthquake, and I one-shot all of his Pokemon. In Victory Road, I have physical moves for the Blissey. Some of the trainers give good experience here, but I don't really need it. At this point with Rock Polish, I think I have everything that I need to take on the Elite Four. But before them, there is one more rival battle, and I still have Extrasensory at this point in the run. It's pretty disappointing. For the remainder of the playthrough, on turn 1 in the battle, I am going to be going for Rock Polish to ensure that I outspeed every single following team member. The question is, after that, can I one-shot all of the rivals' Pokemon? And since the Staraptor has Intimidate, I was a little bit skeptical of this, but I can use special damage at least for the Infernape, and here Extrasensory can get the job done, as well as against the Heracross that follows. After that we have the bad Pokemon, then Snorlax comes in. It's really specially defensive, and after Intimidate, Earthquake can't do that much unless it crits, and it does. So Bronzong ends up one-shotting. That leaves the other bad Pokemon, and with the rival defeated, now it's time for the Elite Four. Aaron is extremely straightforward. Rock Polish, Rock Slide, and Earthquake give me exceptional coverage against his team members. The only Pokemon I have to hit for neutral damage is the Scissor, and it using X-Scissor isn't doing much damage to my bulky wall. I was a bit surprised when I didn't one-shot the following Drapion, but it does even less damage when it chooses X-Scissor, so Aaron was never a threat. Prior to Bertha, I used the remainder of my rare candies, boosting Bronzong up to level 78. I also teach Grass Knot here in the place of Extrasensory. This is why I didn't use the Psychic TM earlier. With a Grass type move, I figured that this was going to be really easy. It's doing 4 times damage to the Whiscash after all, with an effective power of 160, but it still can't one-shot. I don't particularly enjoy playing defensive Pokemon. Anyways, here's a bad interaction. The Whiscash sets up Sandstorm, which will do nothing because I'm a Steel type. She switches it out, sending in Gliscor next, which I have to knock out slowly. This is by far the Pokemon I am worst against. After that, Grass Knot one-shots the Golem, as well as the Rhyperior, and then takes care of the Whiscash. Hippowdon's last, and Grass Knot also is able to one-hit here. So Flint, this is why we didn't go for Heat Proof, because after Rock Polish, and the Houndoom wasting its turn with Sunny Day, I then use Earthquake, one-shotting every single member of his team. Okay, it's time for a big change-up of Bronzong's moveset. I teach Shadow Ball in the place of Rock Slide, and Charge Beam in the place of Earthquake. Now I have a purely special set. Lucian's Mr. Mime isn't particularly scary at the beginning of the fight, so I can take my time here setting up with Charge Beam boosting my special attack. And then I can just spam Shadow Ball, which is special in this generation, finishing off the remainder of his Pokemon. Well, wait, there's one Bronzong at the end of the battle. Am I going to be able to one-hit with +2 special attack? No, of course not. It's a Bronzong. It has to survive with low health and then get healed with a full restore. Prior to Cynthia, I use PP ups on Charge Beam, which is a piece of advice that Axu gave. I think it's really intelligent since the lead Spiritomb on Cynthia's team has pressure, which can drain Charge Beam's PP quickly, and I assume that I'm going to need several turns of special attack boosts to get through her remaining team members. It's now time to teach Psychic in the place of Shadow Ball, and so for the final battle of the game, we have our most powerful same type attack bonus move. Cynthia's Spiritomb is first, giving me time to set up with both Rock Polish as well as Charge Beam. The first 2 turns I didn't get a special attack boost, but on the third I did. Spiritomb survived on red health, so she heals it with a full restore, giving me more time to set up. And by the time it goes down, I have +4 special attack. Garchomp is next, Psychic takes care of her ace in a single hit, and then Milotic comes out. This is another scenario like Cyrus's Crobat. I use Psychic here. I think I'm just excited about getting access to this move when I really should have used Grass Knot. Luckily for me, it doesn't matter in this case because I'm able to one-hit. I continue spamming my Psychic move against the Togekiss for a one-shot, the Lucario falls, as well as the Roserade, and Bronzong finishes the game. It gets a time of 2 hours, 21 minutes, and 34 seconds, with 21 faults, consisting of 18 resets and 3 blackouts. It finished the game at level 80 with a game time of 7 hours and 33 minutes. It's a slow defensive Pokemon, and I'm actually really happy with these results. A time under 2 hours and 30 minutes earns Bronzong a placement in the B tier. It's just behind the first run that I did with Giratina, and ahead of Chatot, which was a normal flying type that performed much better than I was expecting. I really want to emphasize the fact that Bronzong was quite good in the late game of Pokemon Platinum. The last fault that I had in the entire playthrough was against the second Cyrus battle in Veilstone City, and that one was purely player error. The most painful section of the game was definitely prior to evolution, and I think when I come back and play Bronzong again, starting fully evolved, that it's actually going to do decently well. Of course, it's defensive and slow, so it's never going to compete for a top spot in the tier list, but I think it's always going to be a decent Pokemon within Platinum. Before I close out, I just want to mention the fact that this is only the second Psychic-type Pokemon that I have played in this game, and so far, Bronzong is the best of the two. It beat out the legendary Cresselia by a significant margin, although I did do that run as one of my first 7, so I definitely didn't have as much experience when I played the legendary. But still, I do think that Bronzong is the superior Pokemon, especially if it's allowed to start fully evolved. If you support me through Patreon or YouTube memberships, thank you so much, it means the world to me. Now, if you've made it this far, you're incredible. Early Daily December continues tomorrow with a Heart Gold playthrough of Lumineon. I'll see you then.